if I look like for the first like minute or so that I'm picking like things out of my teeth, like giving one of those, I just had a little baklava
Oh, that's what we all want to see.
for lunch. Well, I'm not gonna like.
Everybody tuned in to see Corey eating and getting crap out of his teeth.
Didn't you just have like pizza or something on the show last week? Didn't you have a snack on the show?
But I wasn't to say, hey, everybody, come look at my teeth while I'm getting the food out of it.
I'm taking a little sip too.
Welcome everybody to the Southside Beat today. Happy Football Friday, the Friday before Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend.
I'm Chris.
24th.
Yeah, I'm Chris Halicke. That's Corey Crisan. Yeah, it's man. What's everybody's plans for the weekend? Like what do you guys got planned?
Listen to a little yacht rock. Maybe a little Doobie Brothers, maybe a little Bruce. It's if it's the 4th of July or Memorial Day, you got to put on some Bruce, right? You got to put on some of the Boss, don't you? Any grilling plans? Not actively. My mom actually, like 80 seconds ago, just texted the group chat about a potential cookout on Sunday. So we're working on that. We'll see what happens. There's definitely going to be a grill. There's going to be a hot dog consumed. Yeah, Barbara, I hear you.
I had two hot dogs today for lunch.
Ideal hot dog topping. Go.
I mean, if I could choose just one, it'd be mustard.
Okay, but like, what's your ideal? Like, you can add more. What's your ideal hot dog?
Ketchup, mustard, and dill relish.
Dill relish is important to note. Mustard and onion for me.
Not sweet relish. Sweet relish is trash.
Mustard, onion for me. Raw diced onion, very nice.
Brats are different. Brats are stone ground mustard and freshly chopped onions.
Stoogie says he's not my boss. Is that about Bruce Springsteen? He's the boss. He's the boss. Come on, man. 10th Avenue freeze out.
James, I'll probably swim in the pool. Yeah.
You gotta play Atlantic City. Thank you, Chris. You gotta play Atlantic City on Memorial Day weekend on 4th. My favorite Bruce song is 10th Avenue Freeze Out. 10th Avenue Freeze Out, followed by Radio Nowhere, my two favorites.
Congratulations to Barbara. Today is my Barber-versary, 25 years. Good job.
Love a kraut dog as well. Love sauerkraut on a hot dog. Born in the USA. Rick, come on.
That's clever, though.
Come on. That's the mainstream Bruce Springsteen take. That's the mainstream Bruce. You got to dive into some Bruce, man. What are you guys, 65? I love that, Stoogie.
I have not talked any at all about Bruce
I know. Matthew says the cheese. I do love a good cheese dog. Good chili cheese dog is hard to beat. Good chili on a hot dog is hard to beat.
All right. So Steelers football, OTAs wrapped up this week. Mm-hmm. Corey was on hand for all 3 days. DK was there for multiple days. DK's Friday Insider. If you haven't read it yet, some really good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Really, really good stuff coming from the first week of OTAs. Never disappoints, really. And so, yeah, we've got a good amount of stuff to as much as you can take away from OTAs, right? Because again, it's OTAs, it's football in shorts. There's no actual competition going on. Like, yes, guys are competing against each other, but those competition reps are just, I mean, that really doesn't get ramped up until those guys take the field at St. Vincent College in Latrobe.
Yeah.
But one thing that I just want to note, because obviously, and for good reason, a lot of the attention is going to the offense. New offensive coordinator, brand new quarterback, completely overhauled quarterback room. Who the heck's going to be the wide receiver 2? How is Pat Freiermuth going to thrive in this offense? Oh, yeah, by the way, a lot more interesting, young, talented pieces on that offensive line.
Yeah.
All the reason in the world to be interested and intrigued and possibly even optimistic about the offense. However, we all know that if the Steelers are going to do anything in 2024, it all begins with defense. It has to begin with defense. And there's no two ways around that. I brought up the numbers a million times. I'll bring them up again. If you're going to win the Super Bowl, 75% of the time, the Super Bowl winner has a quarterback that is either already in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Steelers do not have that. Well, technically they do. And
Russell
Wilson
will likely be in the Hall of Fame.
They do, but
active
not
as
like
a member of the Steelers. Yeah.
They're not getting that Russell Wilson. They're getting Russell Wilson, who's coming off of 2 seasons in Denver, in which he has not looked like the Russell Wilson in his prime. So what's the best way that teams have won since then? If you don't have that type of a quarterback, you got to have an all-time great defense. You got to have the 85 Bears. You got to have the 08 Steelers, the 2000 Ravens, the 2013 Seahawks, the 02 Buccaneers. Like, I can go through and you can look at those teams, and they won because of their defense, not because of their quarterback. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's why I think, especially some of the stuff that you even wrote this week, hats off on the linebacker piece, specifically because it is such an important part of the defense now, because like I said, we know what's up front. There's some questions on the interior, but still we know what's up front. We know what's in the back end, but that middle of the defense has been a question mark ever since Ryan Shazier suffered his career-ending injury. This defense has to get the job done. They have to.
And they have to stay healthy, too. Yeah. Let's keep in mind. Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, Keanu Neal, of course, Quan Alexander, Cole Holcomb, Landon Roberts at the end of the year. All sustained injuries. Like, that defense went through a lot of health issues. And as Stoogie says, seems like Cole Holcomb's ahead of schedule, too. No, he's not on the field right now. But he's here. He's here. He's present, at least. He's attending meetings. He's watching practice. Corey Trice is back on the field. So encouraging signs from that standpoint. Obviously, Cam Hayward not being here, it's not nothing, right? Cam Hayward not being here for OTAs is something to a level. It's not going to damn the entire team. It's not like it's, going to completely ruin the plans for this season. They know who Cam Hayward is, obviously. They know exactly what they're getting out of Cam Hayward, but obviously there's contract issues going on right now. And when we talk about the ceiling of this defense, the reason why I wrote about the people I wrote about this week, about the inside linebackers room, and then about Dante Jackson, was because I know that there are questions about about Jackson specifically and what he can be coming from Carolina, and then about the inside linebackers room and how is it going to mesh? How is it going to look, especially when Cole Holcomb comes back? And where does Peyton Wilson stack up in this whole thing? It's why I asked Patrick Queen and Alana Roberts this week, what do you think about Peyton Wilson? And Patrick Queen goes, athletic, and then gives his answer. Alana Roberts and Peyton Wilson's like over his shoulder at the time of me asking this. He goes, he's tall. Like they love Peyton Wilson there already, and I think he's going to be a big help. Dante Jackson, if you read it yesterday, I wrote a little bit of a profile on Dante Jackson and had a nice little one-on-one with him, and he considered this place heaven for any football guy. And, like, that's the thing you want to hear the newcomers say. Like, if there was a book written on what the new guy should say to endear himself to the fan base, that's what he should say. And he seems genuinely excited about the opportunity to have this fresh start. He spent his entire career in Carolina. He hasn't won a lot. This is an opportunity for him to not only produce and kind of get his career back on track, especially after the Panthers drafted J.C. Horn in 2021, but this is an opportunity for him to start winning some ball games and build some morale up that way. Like, I think there's excitement. Yeah, so what's funny, Stephen A., is I couldn't write that, but I was thinking it as I was writing it. Stephen A. said, "So we sent Deontay Johnson to hell." I mean, if you want to put it that way.
If Dante Jackson wants to describe it that way. I mean, if Dante Jackson says this is heaven, then that either means that Carolina was hell, or that just means that, maybe Carolina's just regular old earth.
Maybe
I don't
Pittsburgh
know.
is his version of what heaven looks like. We all have our versions of what heaven looks like.
I mean, sure, it would make sense because, as you get further north, I mean, West Virginia is almost heaven, right? And then you get to Pittsburgh and you get to heaven. So
isn't that song about the western part of Virginia, though, and not the state of West Virginia? Isn't that the misconception?
I have
So
no
then
idea.
where's Purgatory? It's PNC Park.
No, the Purgatory. You want to talk about a place that's hell? That place is at least the window drapes in hell are you get a good view.
It's PNC Park. It's specifically first base at PNC Park. That's Purgatory. Anyway,
Boy,
the
man.
defense, as you mentioned, all kidding aside, the defense is the lifeblood of this team. It's always going to be. It always has been. Obviously, always will be. But
yeah, I mean, you look at all 6 Super Bowls. I mean, yes, there was obviously talent on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, in the 70s, you had Terry Bradshaw, you had Franco Harris, Rocky Blyer, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Mike Webster. Like you had all these players on the offensive side of the ball, but it was the steel curtain. The steel curtain was the reason why they won 4 in 6 years. The 05 team and the 08 team, like you could probably 05 might be the only year in which you could say, okay, the defense wasn't like, now the defense was still really, really, really good, but I don't really call the 05 Steelers like an all-time great defense.
yeah,
You could chalk it up to whatever you want to chalk it up to, but obviously Ben Roethlisberger had a big hand in the 3 playoff games leading up to it. Obviously not so much of a hand in the actual Super Bowl itself, but the 3 games leading up to it, specifically the divisional round and AFC Championship game, yes, for sure. But still, the strength of the team, even in 05, was still on the defensive side of the ball. Just like that's why that's why the team in 04 was able to go 15-1, is because they were able to run the ball and stop other teams from having the football.
Yeah.
So that's
playing keep away works.
Yeah. And it definitely worked in that era of the NFL. And so that's why every time this team has been successful, it's been with defense. And again, if you just go back to the numbers, if you don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback, what's the best way that you could possibly win the Super Bowl? And it's with great defense. That's just the only other answer. Obviously your number one goal is to get a Hall of Fame quarterback, is to get a franchise quarterback. You don't always get one of those. The Steelers have been blessed with 2. Right? They had Bradshaw help get them 4 rings. They had Ben help get them 2 rings. But you don't always have that. There was obviously that big, gigantic gap between Bradshaw and Ben that a lot of people my age, when we were kids and watching the Steelers, man, those were not necessarily the most fun teams because you knew we were limited at quarterback, right? Yeah. And so the Steelers are kind of in that boat right now. They could find an answer here. They could get Russell Wilson to tap into some sort of fountain of youth and become, Russell Wilson, or at least 80% of what Russell Wilson used to be. Or maybe Justin Fields finally figures some stuff out and he, taps into his superstardom here in Pittsburgh. Whatever it is, man, if you can't have the quarterback situation figured out, you have to win with defense. And
what a wonderful question from Lifted. Who has better college prime, West Virginia Tavon Austin or Pitt Jordan Addison? You know what's funny is yesterday in the locker room, I was talking to Devontae KZ about like his off season and like high school and like sports growing up, and he was joking that he was playing he played basketball in high school. He didn't. The highlight reel of Tavon Austin from his West Virginia days is still used. Like his recruiting film is still used today as like regarded as one of the best like huddle mixtapes of all time. We were just talking about that yesterday. It's funny you bring up Tavon Austin. Mon Mike says Lay Kavasu is heaven. Heaven to me is when you make the turn at a golf course and the concession stand has fresh hot dogs on the roller, and you get that one on the turn with a Gatorade. That's my version of heaven. Yeah. The defense to me. The defense to me is obviously going to look different personnel wise, but I think philosophically, physicality was an issue that they looked to build upon last year, and they certainly got better in that department. This offseason, they went for speed, and that's one thing we talked about right after the draft and free agency. They talked about speed, and when you look at drafting Peyton Wilson, drafting Ryan Watts for safety slot, nickel, whatever it is. When you think about Logan Lee, when you think about what they've done, hot dog, William, come on. Chris will be back. Don't worry. when you think about like the speed that they added this offseason to go with that physicality, I think it's going to be a good blend. Now, here's a good question from Crystal, who asked, can Tomlin emphasize physicality with the corners? Big body receivers dismantle Tomlin's corners. I think that's why they built the room the way they did. Dante Jackson even said yesterday, because I asked him, like, Trice, Watts, Porter, you got 2 second-year guys and 1 rookie, and they're all like pretty similarly built. And Dante even made the point, like, yeah, they're tall, they're big, they do different things than I do. And I think that drafting and finding cornerbacks that are big human beings like they did with this room will address some of those concerns with the physicality. And then you add Dante Jackson, who kind of complements all of that. Like, to me, the fit of Dante Jackson, I think, is greater than the talent of Dante Jackson that comes in from Carolina. He's a talented player, but I think it's a really good fit for what this defense has and what already is inside of that room.
Well, I think the addition of Dante Jackson, well, number one, it makes them faster on the outside because, he might not quite be as fast as he was coming out of college, and obviously a major leg injury. Say that 5 times fast.
Major leg injury, major leg injury, major leg injury, major leg injury, major leg injury.
Better than I can do it. I just, he might not quite be as fast as he was coming out of college, but he can still run, right? And having him and Porter on the outside definitely ups the ability to cover in press. And that's ultimately what I think the Steelers want to do with their corners more often than not. They want to be able to press with those guys. And the best way to beat pretty much any type of receiver is to be able to stick with in press man coverage, because if you can get a guy who can stick with receivers more often than not, doesn't matter if it's a fast guy, if it doesn't matter if it's a big bodied guy, doesn't matter if it's a tall, lanky guy, short, quick guy. It really doesn't matter if you have a guy who can find different ways to do it. And I think that's why a guy such as Joey Porter Jr. is so valuable, is that he finds ways to stick with a receiver. It almost doesn't matter what type of a receiver it is. We saw him do it with all types of receivers last year. Yeah. And adding Dante Jackson to that mix, I don't think he's quite as good in press as Joey is. But again, it adds speed to the outside. It adds more coverage ability on the outside. And if you can take care of those outside guys, that allows more freedom for Minkah Fitzpatrick to might not have to always go over the top. So the Steelers don't always have to run in a too high shell on the defensive side of the ball. Now, granted, too high shell can do a lot of really good things. It can take away a lot of stuff that offenses want to do in today's NFL. However, if you can find different ways to mix things up, if you can find different ways to get, especially when you're playing teams like Baltimore and Cleveland, who really, really like to ground and pound, who want to kind of beat you up, the Steelers are going to be more open to do those things, because if you can allow the corners to take care of their stuff on the outside. Oh, and by the way, if you can add a guy, I haven't seen him yet, obviously not there yet, but one guy I'm really wanting to watch is 6th round pick Ryan Watts, man. This dude is, I mean, he looks the part. I'll tell you that. If he were to figure out a way to make it as a slot corner, and shoot, Mike Hilton did it and he was undrafted, right? So, I mean, if he can figure this out, he has got the size to do it. He's got the tackling ability to do it. The dude doesn't miss tackles. He missed 2.5% of his tackle opportunities last year. He doesn't miss tackles. He's not the fastest dude, but his closing speed's good. There's a lot to like about him in that type of a role. It's really not Texas bias. I have no bias to the University of Texas. I don't have anybody who went there. Wouldn't it be? No, that's Wolfpack. That's Wolfpack. That would be Horns. I was about to do this, but that was Wolfpack.
Wolfpack is back. Sorry, I won't sing the song.
Please don't. But no, there's really no Texas bias there, especially because I know, like, yes, the Steelers have hit on at least one player from Texas before in Casey Hampton, but they've also swung and missed on Lima Swede.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Careful what you wish for.
And listen, and James brings up another guy, undrafted free agent Beanie Bishop. Okay, but you also admit bias to being a WVU alum.
Okay, we'll go to Stephen A. then, who said the same thing about Beanie Bishop.
But Beanie Bishop, like, you have guys who can, and again, it allows you to experiment with other things whenever. Okay, as good as Cam Sutton was for this defense, like especially in like 22, right? He had to do multiple things. He had to play outside, then he had to play inside. He had to do multiple things. He did. Now, positionless football can be good. Sure. Mike Tomlin talks about it. But if you can have guys, if you can have a Joey Porter Jr., it's like, there's the number one receiver. Go get him all game long.
Yeah.
That frees you up. Even that frees you up. And then if you have Dante Jackson, who might be a little bit more trustworthy in coverage than Levi Wallace, than Patrick Peterson when he played on the outside last year. That kind of stuff opens up. And then again, when we talk about deficiencies at the second level, having Patrick Queen there, having a Landon Roberts next to him, possibly getting Cole Holcomb coming back from injury, how Peyton Wilson fits into all this, that room getting better, getting deeper in quality as well.
Yeah.
And that opens things up. And again, that's why I think a lot of my focus this year is going to be more on the defensive side, because if this team is going to win, it's going to have to be with defense.
I agree.
They have to be able to stop teams and get that offense back on the field.
Randy says, quote unquote, looks the part. We like hearing that. Here are my top 3 guys who look the part rookie wise. In no particular order: Ryan Watts, Peyton Wilson, and Dejan Edwards, the running back out of Georgia, the undrafted running back.
Also heard a lot of good things about Roman Wilson too.
Oh, I mean, I think we know Roman Wilson's going to Purdue. I think we know Troy Falton. I think we know about those guys. But okay, Peyton Wilson's knee having, the injury concern. I won't say history. 2 years he's been healthy, but concern, right? There's always going to be a concern with a guy like that.
Yeah.
Okay, when you hear Patrick Queen talking about his athleticism, you hear Landon Roberts say he's tall, talking about his length, talking about how he gets the game. Keep this in mind with Peyton Wilson. Peyton Wilson is 242 days younger than Patrick Queen. He's going in as a rookie. He's had a lot of college experience. Patrick Queen's going in his 5th year. A little bit of a different, kind of the exception, to be honest with you, Patrick Queen was when he came out, into the draft. Peyton Wilson, excuse me. Yes, he might be the same age as Patrick Queen, but when you go win every possible award that's not named the Heisman Trophy in college football, you're doing something right. And that's the value that he brings to that room as well.
And it's not like he played in some sort of, wussy conference. I mean, he played in the ACC. I mean, the ACC's Power 5 conference. I mean,
some people might say that's still the wussy conference.
I understand that. It's now I have Big Ten bias myself, but it's not the SEC. It's not the Big Ten. I would put it pretty much on par, especially after Texas and Oklahoma leave the Big 12. I'd put it more on par with the Big 12, but still, there are still some good schools that play in the ACC, namely Clemson, but still, it's not. I consider the competition worthwhile whenever a guy can sweep the awards the way he did.
I mean, nationally, he did. Nationally, unanimous All-American, Chuck Bednarik Award, Butkus Award. When you win those awards, when you get considered among the top in the nation, not just that conference, doing something right.
Yeah. Rick makes a good point here. Says the offense not going 3 and out all the time will help kind of a lot. It will help. There's no kind of there. That will help a lot.
Kind of a lot's an oxymoron, isn't it?
If the offense can, we're talking about time of possession, anything like that, anything that can keep the defense fresh, that's obvious. And yes, with the offense being better, that should in turn help the defense be better too. Help give the defense a better chance to stay fresh, avoid injuries. That's a good thing. And Barbara asked a good question here. What's the weakest position room right now?
Can I argue it's wide receiver?
I don't think it's an argument right now. I think it's the drop off after George Pickens that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
That would be my biggest concern. I mean, you go ahead and make your point, obviously, but that would be my biggest concern alone, is just what happens, who is the guy to step up after George Pickens? Because to me, everybody else in the receiver room, now we're talking about tight end, but the receiver room has question marks about being a number one receiver on a team.
It's a fullback room. Leave Jack Coletto alone, man. Leave Jack Coletto alone. Kind of a lot, more like a hell of a lot. 50% of the time, it helps 100% of the time. That's right. Yeah, it's wide receiver. The answer is wide receiver. I look, and that's not. I think when we have these conversations about wide receiver, we kind of put Roman Wilson to the side. Like, I think Roman Wilson, as it sits right now, has a pretty identifiable role. I think it's very clear he's going to be involved in the offense. I think the concern when we talk about wide receiver is that spot opposite George Pickens is who's going to be outside wide receiver 2. Like, we know Pickens will be outside wide receiver 1. We know Roman Wilson's going to hold the slot. But who's going to be that threat? And that's the, I think, operative word, threat, that lines up opposite George Pickens. I mean, I don't want this team to become so one-sided in the passing game that George Pickens gets doubled every game, and you have guys like Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller behind him that are forced, lack of a better phrase, into having to catch X amount of passes or being targeted X amount of times a game. Like, I think Roman Wilson is a fine player. I think he's going to do well in this offense. I think this is a good fit for him. I think he has a good role. And I think it's very cemented right now. But there's going to come times where George Pickens draws way more attention than anybody else. And if they don't make a move between now and the start of training camp or now and week 1, they're going to have problems at some point this season. I mean, mark the tape. 3:29 p.m., May 24th, 2024. If they don't get another wide receiver, at some point they're going to run into that wall.
Yeah, I think there's hold on, I'm getting a text from a number I don't recognize. I want to make sure it's not it is not, unfortunately. It is a political text, which means I'm going to be blocking the number.
Oh, I got one of those too earlier. I was like, really? Now? May? Come on.
No, May? So I'm just making sure because like all my showing requests will come via text. And so I'm keeping that for Barber said that. That's Barber me, Chris. Appreciate it. No,
you got an appointment with him.
You know what? If I'm ever in the area, once I get in the area, man,
I need a haircut. I look insane right now.
Why do you think I'm wearing a hat right now?
I didn't want to wear a hat. Like I don't know. I didn't want to wear a hat today. I didn't feel it.
Wear a hat yesterday.
I'm repping Manchester Township in New Jersey.
As long as it's not Manchester City or Manchester United, you're good.
I wiped the floor with my good buddy Tommy. Tommy, if you're listening, I know that you are. I wiped the floor with them yesterday in FIFA. Just gonna put that out there. I was Mexico. He was Italy. I won 4-1. Or 4-2. I wiped the floor with him.
So the one
trick for Henry. Go on.
The one thing that I'm really interesting to watch how defenses are going to. Thanks, Barbara. Appreciate that.
I have to note that too. Maybe I'll come over.
The one thing I really, really want to watch is how defenses react to Arthur Smith's offense, because there are a number of things that we know, right? We know based off of the tape last year, you can go back and look at what happened when Deontay Johnson was out last year and how defenses treated the Steelers, treated George Pickens whenever he was out. And you can go, the Raiders game stands out to me more than anything, is that they would be in single high, like cover 1, like they'd be in single high safety, not cover 3, straight up cover 1. And the safety was shadowing over George Pickens. That is essentially saying that side of the field is open.
Yeah.
Like you can run, like do whatever you want. I don't care. Like that is disrespect to Calvin Austin, to Allen Robinson, to any other receiver that was lined up over there. And so the one thing that is, I don't expect defenses to do that. I'm not saying that they won't shade a safety over the top of George Pickens, because I do expect that, but I don't expect a lot of cover 1 because, well, single high safety, especially if it's cover 1, that's asking Russell Wilson to throw the ball deep. And if there's any quarterback in the NFL you don't want throwing the ball deep, it's Russell Wilson, because he is a very, very good deep ball thrower.
That's right.
So I would expect more too high shell. I would expect some cover 3 stuff. That's what I would anticipate more. That brings more people further away from the line of scrimmage, which opens things up for the running game, which at the end of the day is what the Steelers are going to want to do on the offensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. And so that at that point, that's why I'm beginning to question, like, do I think the Steelers need to add a second receiver to play on the outside that's better than what they have in the room right now? Yes, I do. And if there's an opportunity to add, or I should say at least trade for a Cortland Sutton, a DK Metcalf, or whatever, and it doesn't cost that much in assets, then absolutely do it. But I also don't think that it's the absolute end of the world if they aren't able to do that, because they might have enough to piece together what they can do opposite George Pickens. Just the biggest issue that I would have with that is for the exact reason I've outlined before. If George Pickens ever goes down with an injury, it's a massive drop off. Yep. And that's why I would feel a lot better if post June 1, Omar Khan somehow pulls off a trade for one of those guys. But again, I expect defenses to play this offense a certain way, which should help open up for the running game, because if they sell out, it's the Seattle game from last year. If they sell out to stop the run, boom, deep balls all day. I mean, George Pickens is going to eat. Calvin Austin is going to eat on the deep balls. Roman Wilson going to eat over the middle, because that's the other thing is too high shell opens up the middle of the field. That's middle field open for those football nerds out there. Cover 2 means middle field open. Pat Freiermuth over the middle. Roman Wilson over the middle. I mean, there are different ways, and Arthur Smith is smart enough to know that stuff. That's why I think the offense is going to be better, which in turn, to put a nice bookend to this, should help the defense.
Yeah. Barber says he's hungry. You know, it's 3:30. It's the Friday before Memorial Day. Here's a question for you for the chat. Here's a good discussion topic to end the show on. You go to a cookout. You get one of those plates that look like a peace sign, right? They have like the dividers. So you have 3 compartments on your plate. What are you putting in those compartments? You get 3 items to put in those compartments, and then you get a drink.
For Memorial Day?
For Memorial Day cookout. What are you having on that plate? You get a main. You can have a main and 2 sides. You could do 3 mains if you really want. You could do 3 sides if you want. And then you get a drink of your choosing. What's your ideal Memorial Day spread is what I'm getting at. I want answers in the chat too.
I mean, ideal for me, and especially this upcoming weekend, because that's going to be most likely going to be my last in Texas.
Yeah.
It's going to be barbecue. So my main would be a nice mixture of smoked brisket and sausage with authentic barbecue sauce over it. And then a nice side of beans and potato salad.
There you go. You're a potato salad guy. I'm a mac salad guy.
It depends. It depends on, number one, it depends on if it's like home done, authentic Texas barbecue, or if I'm going to, like, when it comes to barbecue stuff, man, like, and those of who are in the chat that are from Texas know what I'm talking about. There's a massive difference between homemade barbecue, like my brother-in-law has his own smoker, grills, like smokes his own briskets and sausages and all this kind of stuff. Then there's the chains like Dickies and there's one Soul Man's and all the different chains around here. And then there are the like actual attractive, authentic, like Heim's Barbecue in Dallas or Fort Worth. Like those are like the places where you're like, okay, that's where barbecue is most elite. But if we're talking about like homemade barbecue, typically potato salad is really good because somebody in somebody's family made a homemade potato salad. And it's usually a lot better than what you'll buy in a store. So
yeah, I'll have to send it to you. I'll do it off camera. I watched a video on YouTube recently. You ever hear of Goldie's Barbecue? It's supposedly like a little southwest of Dallas.
I think I've heard of it. I haven't been there though.
So I watched the YouTube video, basically a documentary of this place, like a week in the life of, and like apparently they were voted #1 barbecue in Texas. Apparently. That from like Texas Monthly or whatever the magazine is.
There you go. Mike in Texas says yes. So
Mike knows. Mike knows. Okay, there it is. South of Fort Worth.
Yeah, South Fort Worth.
So I watched the whole documentary on it. I'll share it with Chris.
And that's why, because Fort Worth is where I'm east of Dallas. I'm 30 minutes east of Dallas. Okay. So we're talking about anything over in Fort Worth. The only reason I'm ever going over Fort Worth is because the military base is there.
Yeah.
So,
My ideal plate for Memorial Day or any cookout is a cheeseburger, American cheese, lettuce,
Mhm.
tomato, mayo. Simple. That's in one compartment. The second compartment is macaroni salad. Good mayonnaise-based macaroni salad. Ice cold. Perfect. And I can't believe only a couple people have mentioned this. Corn on the cob.
oh
You
yeah,
put
that's
corn on
good.
the cob, butter, salt, hot, right there on that plate. I'm there all day.
See, here's the other thing, and this is why like homemade barbecue stuff is some of my favorite, is because when you have those really big get-togethers and it's like a bunch of family, a bunch of friends and stuff like that, you'll get somebody like my brother-in-law who will smoke a brisket, smoke sausage and stuff like that, and so you're getting the barbecue stuff. But then all of the other sides are so good because there will be like 3 different types of beans, right? And then there's going to be 2 different types of potato salad. There's going to be macaroni and cheese. Somebody probably made homemade macaroni and cheese, not just threw a thing of shells and cheese together. Not hating on shells and cheese. Shells and cheese is the bomb, but somebody made it. And then somebody will either have grilled corn, like grilled corn on the cob, or they will, like, I have a friend of mine, a woman who used to be the youth leader at my church. She makes this like Texas cream cheese corn thing.
Woo!
And it is so good.
Man.
Like every time she makes it, I like, it's got like different kinds of seasonings and stuff like that. It's so good, man. Like
That's amazing.
I mean, I'm talking about, I add like multiple, like probably 5 pounds just based off of one meal, because those, like I said, those homemade like barbecue days on like Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend and 4th of July, like, yeah, man. Like that's one thing. Now, granted, Pittsburgh knows how to eat, right? Pittsburgh knows how to eat.
I
am not going to be missing out on food, but there's nothing like, if there's one, you ask me, like one of the things I'm going to miss about Texas outside of like the actual people and stuff, it's going to be the way we do like cookouts and barbecues, actual barbecue. Like, I don't like people calling, oh yeah, we're going to barbecue this weekend, and it's just hot dogs and burgers. Like, that's not barbecue.
That's not a barbecue. That's a cookout.
Yeah. Like, that's not barbecue. I know what a barbecue is, man. And I've been enjoying it for 23 years and it's awesome. But man, I'm telling you what, I'm looking forward to all the different types of pizza, all the different, I'm looking so forward to everything in Pittsburgh too.
The best desserts.
I want it all. I want it all.
Now, I think desserts are seasonal. In my book, desserts are seasonal.
Yeah, I'm not eating pumpkin pie at 4th of July.
I'm eating pumpkin pie 4th of July. Apple pie, baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet. Come on.
Not Chevy. God, never again. Never again.
I could eat cannolis every day. I'm a pastry guy. I love pastry. I could eat a cannoli every day if health were not a consequence. I love cannolis. Regatta cannolis with chocolate chips on the end, delicious, unbeatable. I'm a big ice cream guy. As you can probably tell, big ice cream guy. Dairy Queen, send the check. M&M Blizzards from Dairy Queen are my all-time favorite. Where I grew up in the Hermitage, Pennsylvania area, there's a place called the Corral, little shack, and they have these things called coffee stirs, which are basically like a really good homemade Jamocha shake from Arby's, like coffee milkshake. They're amazing. Gotta love the Steeler off season.
Lifted ones, man. That's so good.
We can talk food. Food's a good topic. The chat's more active now than it was when we were talking football. So
that really is fair.
So what do you want? Like, it's engagement, baby. Fruit parfait. I do love it. I love a fruit parfait for breakfast. Fruit and yogurt and granola for breakfast. Unbelievable. When I was last year, and we'll end the show here soon. When I was at training camp last year, I was all over the yogurt bar. They had a yogurt bar there.
Yep,
like 3 different kinds of yogurt, like vanilla, like strawberry or blueberry, and then Greek yogurt, and a bunch of fruit, granola mixes, nuts. Yeah.
Well, William, I'm going to miss Whataburger a lot. That is the other thing I'm going to miss. Now, granted, I will take the trade-off for Permanis. I will. I'll take the trade-off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to miss Whataburger a lot. Yeah.
You know, Damon, sometimes you need that box mac and cheese, though. Like,
oh yeah.
Yesterday, I caught a craving for a certain fast food place that serves tacos. Won't mention the name of it by name unless they want to send the check, but a certain taco place. And I rang the bell and I answered the bell and I went and I picked some of it up. Now, do I regret? A little bit, but also worth it. Like I hit the craving there, and I get that craving like once every couple months, and sometimes you just have to answer it. So there you go.
One thing my wife is looking forward to when it comes to food there is way more accessibility to Greek food.
Oh yeah. And you get pierogies back in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I get pierogi. I'm like, my wife's not the biggest pierogies fan. She's not a big pasta and stuffed pasta fan. She's very, very much like, she's not a pasta and bread person. It's just not her forte. She'll eat it, but it's just not her forte. But man, she goes for the, like, if she could live off of sushi, Greek food, and Indian food, she would do it.
When I lived in Toledo, there's a place called Shawarmaholics out there. I love shawarma. I would go get there and get, a falafel or, something. And some of those shawarma wraps that they have, with the fries in them, good chicken, hard to beat.
I need to know about this. I need to know about the details of this Greek food fest so that my wife can know about it, because I don't think there's any Greek food that my wife would turn down. And yes. I'm talking about more than just I call them gyros, like a lot of the Indians do, but no, I'm talking about more than just that and dolma and baklava. I'm talking about like there's no Greek food on.
Hold on, wait. Let me go get the box. Give me 1 second. Let me go get the box. I'll show you. Hold on.
But yeah, no, excited about the different access to different types of food, because like I said, it's not like Pittsburgh doesn't know how to eat. They know how to eat.
So my girlfriend went on a mission trip to Greece with her family recently, and they brought back.
No, nice baklava, yeah,
from Greece. I mean, you can see the writing there, but these were like individually wrapped. Hold on, I have the discarded wrapper. So these little baklavas individually wrapped. I mean, look, they have the like directions in Greek in the back. Like, this is legit.
I remember,
this was really good. I mean,
of all the things that we did, my wife and I did on our honeymoon, whenever, like, we spent 2 weeks, I mean 4 days in Rome, and then we did a 7-day Mediterranean cruise and did 3 stops in Greece. And each of the 3 stops in Greece, she was like, we are eating somewhere. I'm going to have authentic Greek food.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, yeah, it was, Mike in Texas, Chris, take your wife to Demasi's Mediterranean before you move. Okay.
Write that down. Write that down. Mark the tape. All right, let's get out of here before we make more people hungry. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your celebrations. Please be safe with whatever you're doing and enjoy it. We'll be off Monday as well.
Yes.
So we'll have our holiday. We'll be back Tuesday for another live Southside Beat at 3 p.m. Eastern, as we always do. He's Chris Halicke.
It might be 3. It depends on OTAs.
Time dependent, yeah.
Right. So we might have to push South. If we do, it'll typically be what we did yesterday. It'll push it back an hour.
Yeah, it'll be at 4 o'clock. We'll see.
Yeah. So, but obviously, especially for Wednesday, like when the Ramon show comes back, we're not going to get in the way of that. So, yeah.
3 or 4 Eastern on Tuesday. How about that then?
We'll see.
All right.
We'll let you guys know in the community section.
Yes, please get your notifications on for that.
Working on it, Barber. Working on it. Trust me. House is on the market now. Haven't had a showing yet, but house is ready for it. It's also coming up on Memorial Day weekend. We weren't expecting a busy weekend anyway.
No.
So, but yeah, no, we're trying.
Yeah, you are. Keep working at it. He's Chris. I'm Corey. This has been the Southside Beat. Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate you. Cheers. Happy Memorial Day. Have a safe weekend. We'll talk to you Tuesday. Peace, everybody.